Hello, folks. I just rolled out of bed and had this on my mind, so I wanted to say it. Um, Whenever the disciples of John went to Jesus, see, John was in prison, and I guess they all got together and they was like, "Well, go ask Jesus, is he the Messiah, or should we look for another one?" And so anyway, they go down to Jesus, and whenever they talk to Jesus, they're like, "Are you the Messiah?" And he said, uh, he looks at him and he's like, he didn't just say, go read it. He didn't just say, "Yep, I'm the Messiah." Go tell John I'm the Messiah. What he did was he gave a lot of circumstantial evidence to prove that he was the Messiah, but he didn't tell him he was the Messiah. So what he said, he's like, the deaf hear, the blind walk, or the blind see, the lame walk. Whatever he said, I can't remember. He's talking about all the. If you could have been there, I'm sure he was like, all the scriptures of the Old Testament that said that I was going to, or said that the Messiah, what would be doing when the Messiah was here, is all coming to pass right now. So. Go figure, guys. Go figure if you figure this is the Messiah. Everything that was supposed to happen here when the Messiah come is happening. All the scriptures are being fulfilled right now of what was supposed to happen when the Messiah come. But he didn't tell them, "Yep, I'm the Messiah." So anyway, what is going on here is whenever William Branham was baptized on the river in 1933, there's the story of the voice or whatever that says, as John the Baptist forerun the first coming, John the Baptist forerun the first coming of Christ, your message will forerun the second coming. Okay, so what you have is that spirit of Elias came back on William Branham. Okay, this is common knowledge amongst the message people, so I'm just going back over it. So anyway, William Branham was your John the Baptist character at this. He was the Elias, he was the John the Baptist figure. Okay, so anyway, and then what you've got is you've got these disciples of John the Baptist. You've got these disciples of William Branham. And so, that they say, William Branham was a prophet. Okay, that's your disciples of John, your modern day disciples of John. So anyway, what happened is that the Messiah, Jesus, come back and return just like he said he was going to. And so anyway, these disciples, when people started coming out with the understanding that, this what went on and accompanied William Branham's message in the 1960s and so forth, and all the stuff that was going on around the world at the time, was what was going on. That somebody finally recognized one day that say, "Hey, this was the Messiah." And so anyway, but the disciples of John, they don't really know. So what they do is they, John and his disciples, the disciples that think William Branham was John the Baptist, some of them, they go down and they ask is, was this the Messiah? Is this the Messiah? Because and so anyway, the reply is the same. That nowhere in what essentially what they do now is they go look to William Branham's message and they ask, was that the Messiah accompanying William Branham's message, or was it not? Or should we look for another? Should we look for another 80 years, I guess, for the rapture to happen or whatever, or was that it? Because people have began to understand that was it. So anyway, I guess some of the, these guys, they begin to question. So they go to William Branham's message, and what do you find? You go to William Branham's message in the 60s and read it, or really all throughout, and what do you find? You find you don't find anywhere in there. See, I think they seem to be looking for William Branham's message. If to believe what the third coming and so forth believe is true, then they go back to the message. They're like, well, where did William Branham say that this was the Messiah? Where did he ever say it? And really, in a way, I mean, he didn't make it I'm not saying that he didn't say it, because really, truly, he did, but he didn't. Let's just say it wasn't brought out quite exactly so cut and dried as that to say, if you go back to William Branham's message, you're not exactly going to find where William Branham said, "Yep, this was the Messiah." It's just like when the disciples of John went to Jesus, and Jesus didn't say, "Yep, I'm the Messiah." And if you go back to William Branham's message from that time period, you're not going to find exactly where it said, yep, this is the Messiah. This is the return of, So, but what you do find is you find circumstantial evidence everywhere. Jesus gave John's disciples circumstantial evidence to prove that he was the Messiah, but he didn't tell them he was the Messiah. So if you go back and look at William Branham's message, and what you will find is you will find circumstantial evidence out the wazoo. It's everywhere. Okay? He was saying Matthew 24 has been fulfilled. All the things, and that was supposed to be when the Messiah would return, when Matthew 24 was fulfilled. The Jews are in their homeland. They've been in their homeland since 1948. Got their own nation, their own money, their own army, whatever. Okay? That was supposed to be that, when the Messiah comes, that was supposed to be. Okay, there's this big diamond ring in the sky of the lunar eclipse, how that it made the big red ring around the moon, and then the top of it, the sun shone bright and created a big diamond ring in the sky. Okay, well, the diamond ring was to signify that the marriage between the bride and Christ had taken place. Okay, it's circumstantial evidence. Did he just come right out and exactly say it? No, but Jesus didn't either. Why was everybody expecting that you can find that? Okay, so anyway, in such a way, anyhow. So anyway, so you got that. There's circumstantial evidence. You got this big cloud in the sky in 1963. There's circumstantial evidence everywhere. You got the king's sword. You name it. All the scriptures, Matthew 24, the Jews in their homeland, the fig tree blooming. When you know that the fig tree gives forth whatever, then you'll know, blah, blah, blah. I go on and on. All this evidence, there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that said, just like Jesus gave them an overwhelming amount of evidence to say, hey, I'm the Messiah. He didn't tell them he was the Messiah, but he said, here's all the evidence. Here's an overwhelming amount of evidence that proves me guilty that I am the Messiah. Okay, so this is the same exact way. What you've got here is it's in William Branham's message. You don't just come right out and say, yeah, this was the coming of, this is the return that finished up the 7 church ages and all this and that, and the Messiah has come and everything that was supposed to be done. This was literally the Messiah. There's no ifs and buts about it. The whole thing is done. Okay, you ain't going to exactly find it put that way, but what you're going to find is a large swath of circumstantial evidence saying this was it. You ain't going to find, where he is just like, yeah, this is the rapture, but you're going to find enough circumstantial evidence to prove that that's what was going on. Okay, so anyway, and to prove that the Messiah had come. Okay, so it's about circumstantial evidence, and there's enough circumstantial evidence in William Branham's message to prove the Messiah guilty of having come back in total, in full done. Okay, but you ain't going to find anywhere where it says, that William Branham said, "Yep, this is it." He didn't. Jesus didn't say that. William Branham never said that, and they weren't supposed to. They're supposed to give the reply. If you go back to the message now, is that here's 10 circumstantial evidences to prove that this was the Messiah. Okay, there's 100 circumstantial evidences to prove that the Messiah had come in the 1960s. Okay, so it's like this: if you're trying to prove a criminal had done something, then it's like if you've got proof that let's say the criminal was at the bowling alley or the bar or whatever whenever the shot was fired and killed the man. Okay, so if you've got that guy, maybe he won't admit to it, just like William Branham and Jesus, they didn't just straight up admit to what was going on, or what William Branham said about the Messiah, what was going on through his ministry, that it was coming, that it was there. But like in the case of the guy who shot somebody at the bowling alley or whatever, we've got evidence that says that the man was there. The suspect that shot the guy was there. He was seen on camera there at 12:30 when the shot was fired. It was also known that he had a .45 caliber pistol that would that had the same forensic markings of the bullet and the 45 caliber slug that went through the man, and the man who was supposed to shot him. DNA evidence of the man's hair was found on the guy, or whatever. Whenever he tried to cover up the body or whatever. Okay, what I'm saying is the evidence is overwhelming. The guy did it. You don't have to get him to tell you he did it. It's just there's so much circumstantial evidence that it's what they call in court cases beyond a shadow of a doubt. You have to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that the guy did it. Well, there's so much circumstantial evidence there that you can prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that the guy did it. And that's what I'm telling you. There is so much, Jesus had so much circumstantial evidence to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that he was the Messiah, that it proved that he was the Messiah without him having to even say that he was the Messiah. The same thing with William Branham's, what was going on in William Branham's day. There was so much circumstantial evidence out there of all these things that were being fulfilled that that it proved that that was the return of the Messiah and the marriage of the whatever, the bride, without having to say it. There's so much evidence. It's overwhelming evidence. The 45 caliber slug found in the guy. That was it was Matthew 24 being fulfilled, like William Branham said. The ring in the sky, that was that the people were there at 12:30 when the thing was supposed to have happened. It's just evidence right down the line of that this was it. Okay, so you don't, these people, if you're going to go and look for William Branham to come out and say it exactly, then you'll never find it. But Jesus didn't either. Why are you looking for something? Why are you looking for something that Jesus didn't do himself to prove? Jesus didn't do that to prove he was the Messiah. He gave him evidence. And William Branham didn't say that what was going on, what was accompanying his ministry there at the time was the Messiah. He gave you evidence to prove that it was. And he gave overwhelming evidence to prove that that's what was going on. And it's so much evidence, so much overwhelming circumstantial evidence to prove that that was the return in the 1960s, that it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming evidence. It's known beyond the shadow of a doubt to anybody who will look at the evidence that was the Messiah. That's that the man had killed the guy. It was overwhelming evidence. Well, there's overwhelming evidence to say that this was the Messiah. Okay, and anybody would laugh if you had all that evidence in a courtroom, and could prove that this guy, you had tenfold evidence that this guy had done this. Then if anybody in the jury had said, "No, I don't believe that he did it," well, everybody would have laughed at him and been like, "You're crazy, man. Look at all this evidence." And that's what I'm telling you. What we got now is we got jurors out here, these message people, that are like, "Well, I don't know. I'm still not convinced that he did it." And you got like 100 things of prime evidence here, and anybody would laugh at them and be like, "Are you crazy? Of course it happened. Of course this guy killed this man. Look at all the evidence. We almost got him on camera doing it here. We practically got him on camera doing it." Okay? And this is the same thing over here. We practically got the Messiah on camera doing it here. We got pictures in Life magazine. Okay? We got the sky was the diamond ring. We got evidence. We practically got the Messiah on camera fulfilling the second coming and fulfilling the rapture and fulfilling all this. And if anybody don't believe that it's true, then if any juror out here, any message juror would say that I don't know, I'm still skeptical, I don't think the guy killed the guy, then they just need to be laughed at. It's just, that's what you would do in the courtroom. That's what the jurors would do. They, like 20 jurors, and one guy's like, "Oh no," everybody would be laughing at him, and rightfully so, with overwhelming evidence. If the evidence was overwhelming, well, that's what you got here. You got overwhelming evidence, and then you got still these message people like, "Oh, I don't know if it happened." They need to be laughed at. That's what I've been laughing at them for years. Okay, secondly, and then I want to say this, and then I'm done. Another thing that I have noticed is that, to me, I have got two sides out here that I deal with that are basically problematic. The message people, because they don't believe anything, even if you put it right in front of their face, they can't believe anything because it didn't fit what their preconceived notion of what everything was supposed to be. So if you provide evidence with them, see that they were like a juror that went into the courtroom and had a preconceived notion of how things were, and you can't convince them otherwise. Because they had a preconceived, no amount of evidence will convince them otherwise that this guy did it. Okay, no amount of that this guy was guilty of the crime, and no amount of evidence can convince them otherwise that the return of Christ had happened, because they got this preconceived notion in their mind and they can't get it out. And that evidence is just, you can throw evidence at them and it don't matter. It won't get through. Okay. So that's what you get whenever you talk to. What I've noticed is whenever you talk to these message people, when the first thing that you start to say to them, whenever you try to tell them better than what they had, and I know that's like, ooh, better, but anyway, whenever you try to tell them better than what they had, that the Messiah had come, that this is not the days of John, this is the days of after the Messiah. We're over in the second book of Acts and beyond now. Okay. You try to tell them stuff like that, and then a preconceived notion or preconceived mind, all they can think of is they always look at you and say, it happens practically without fail. They always look at you, as soon as you try to tell them something like that, they look at you and say, do you believe William Branham whenever he said this or that? And I'm like, come on. What are you talking about, believe William Branham? Of course I believe William Branham, what he was saying. Okay, his general mentality on things, and so, but all they know is that their mind is stuck in this mode of trying to get you up to the level of their understanding of believing William Branham in such a kind of way as the way they believe it. Okay, believing William Branham is a prophet. All they want to do is get you to believe that William Branham was a prophet. Okay, disciples of John, get you to believe that. John was a prophet, essentially. That's all they can do. Okay? They can't do anything more. You try to do any more than that, they can't do it. So anyway, what happens is you talk to all these message people, and they say, and you try to tell them something about what's going on, and they look at you and they're like, do you believe William Branham is a prophet? Do you believe that he said, and what he said was true here whenever he said this? And I'm like, come on. You can't go any farther. What people that have that mentality, you can't tell them anymore, because that if you try to tell them something, then all they're thinking in their mind is what they're going to tell you next, which is, do you believe William Branham is a prophet? Because that's as far as they can go. They can't go anymore. It's like if you try to tell a Baptist about William Branham or something like that, then a Baptist looks at you and he's like, yeah, brother, but have you been saved? You could tell him the greatest things ever. You could say, well, this guy was down on the Ohio River in 1933, and sound came down and said, as John the Baptist forerun the second coming, you shall forerun the first coming. Your message or ministry will forerun the second coming. And the Baptists look at you and say, yeah, brother, but have you been saved? See, that's all they know. They can't go any farther than that. All they want to know is yeah, brother, but have you been saved? You could tell them the greatest thing ever. You could say the Messiah returned in 1963 and the big rapture happened and everything. Yeah, brother, but have you been saved? Okay, that's what a Baptist does. Well, that's what a message person does. You could tell them that the Messiah come, the second ride come, prophet came back, William Branham came back and rode the trail again and sorted out what all was needed to be sorted out from the first ride. Essentially, it's already all this has happened. We're over in an age now to where it's the age of Aquarius and this and that, and a message person will look at you and be like, "Yeah, brother, but do you believe William Branham is a prophet?" And I'm like, face palm. Oh my gosh. Seriously, people. So anyway, what I want to tell you is this. This is what you don't hear very often. I've been saying it over and over and over. All these conditions that these message people have got into. I said the other day, that the Love Divinic people have gotten to the same conditions, because a modern version of the same conditions, because now they've got back to there can't be a prophet. Their message is so modernized that they've modernized the concept of a prophet out of it in any shape, form, or whatever. Okay, so that's the same condition that the message people got into. They said that there could not be no prophets after William Branham. Same thing. Okay, here again, I'm going to give you another example of how the Love Divine people have got into the same condition of the message. What they've done is they've got to this condition to where that same thing. If you try to tell them anything if you try to tell them anything beyond their age, then all they do is look at you and they're like, yeah, but have you come to the understanding of the love divine? Yeah, have you come to the understanding of the Toriello Yonza way of doing things? That's all they know. They won't listen to nothing. They're stuck right there, denominated, stuck right there, just like a Baptist was, just like a message person was. They will not listen to nothing. All they want to know is when you try to talk to them, their mind is already full, already preoccupied, preconceived of what they're going to say, because all they want to know is do you believe about the love divine way of looking at things? Do you believe the Toriello Yonza's way of looking at things? That's it. It's the same thing with the William Branham people. Do you believe that William Branham's a prophet? And the love divine people are the same way. They're like, do you believe that Toriello Yonza's idea is the way?
Yeah.
That's all they know. You can't talk to them because they got this preconceived. That's all they want to know. They don't. If anything better is just what. It's like, it's just like you try to, like I said, you try to tell a Baptist, try to tell a message, people say, they're like, what? They're like, what? Do you believe that William Branham is a prophet? And then the love divine people are like, you try to tell them something better, you try to tell them something more advanced. Oh dear God, I said it, more advanced. Yeah, more advanced. There's more advanced messages out here than the love divine. Okay, sorry folks, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay. If you try to tell them something, there's more advanced thought processes out here than the love divine. Believe it or not, I know they said that there couldn't be. I know that they said that there's no more prophets, no more nothing like that could ever happen. And if you're just a one-upper, if you believe that, well, what did the message call us when down the third coming days? Well, you're a one-upper. It ain't like this ain't happened before. We all got called one-uppers for claiming that there was something beyond, and they said, well, you can't one-up William Branham's message. And that's what they say now. That's what these love diviners say. You can't one-up a Toriello Yonza's message. You can't do that. Yeah, watch and see. It'll happen. It always happens just the same. It's happening right now. You can one-up it too.
It's repeating.
Yeah, as my wife just said, it's repeating. Okay? So and I'll give you a scripture. Look, what do you think was going on? Well, anyway, look. So what I'm saying is that it's obvious what's going on there. That these people, they ought to have an auto response, as I've called it for years. An automatic response. These love divine people have an automatic response. And what's the automatic response? The automatic response is whenever you try to tell them something better than what they've got, they say, yeah, but do you believe that the Toriello Yonza's got the way? That's all they know. It's like talking to a Baptist. I might as well be talking to a Baptist, folks. Okay, so anyway, so here's the deal. And they say, well, you're a one-upper. What's a Baptist going to look at you and say? If you said something about William Branham and they're going to say, well, you're a one-upper, all I need to know is that I'm saved, that I went down into the water at the Baptist church and got saved, and you're just a one-upper. That's what they say. Anybody's ever been around Baptists? We grew up around Baptists and grew up around Pentecostals and all these type of people. Okay, that's what you hear from a Baptist. They say, well, I don't know. You're just a one-upper. You're just trying to be better than us, whatever. Okay, well, it's the same thing with this love divine bunch. They're like, oh, you're just trying to be better. You're just a one-upper. That's what they call me. Okay, that's what they call me for preaching this. So anyway, but try this one. For one thing, we have went through a slew of circumstantial evidences here over the years that messages get one up by other messages. How do we get off of that? That's so simple. That's one of the simplest truths of all time. And how we got off of that, I don't know. Okay, and we always end up getting off of it. That's the thing. It repeats. Once these messages denominalize into, yeah, but do you believe our message? And they won't listen to nothing else. Then that's how it works. It always gets there, and then you get stuck, and then somebody comes along, blows it open, and proves that what they were saying was not in fact true, that the message does still go on, regardless of how modern they think that they can modernize out, the idea that the message would improve. Okay, it'll come along and blow it up. It's already done it. This, what I've been saying here for a long time, has already blowed that nonsense out of the water. Okay, so anyway, David had to deal with Saul, and he had to deal with the Philistines, and he had to deal with all this. David, it said that Saul had slain these thousands, and David had slain these 10,000. It says from that point on, Saul eyed David. Okay, so what it represents is that if you've got a better message, see, Saul was head and shoulders above the people. Okay, so he's the king of Israel. Okay, So David was unheard of at the point, basically. Well, to some degree, he was the general, but he wasn't king. So anyway, David came along, and his message was to one up Saul's message. Okay, and that's what Saul didn't like. He tried to kill him, chased him all over the country. Okay, so David's in the middle here. He's got these Philistines on one side, these uncircumcised Philistines out here. The uncircumcised Philistines, and then he's got King Saul to deal with. Okay, so anyway, that's what you got. You got King Saul is always trying to see, David was the anointed. Now, Saul was the Lord's anointed, obviously, and David always acknowledged that. But David was also the Lord's anointed, and he was to be king. Okay, so David's message was a one-up of Saul's message. That's what it was. That's what it represents. And then you had Philistines out here. You got message people to deal with out here, usurpers. Because what were the message pastors? They were usurpers over the people that had, the people that should have had the bright understanding. Okay, and they were nothing but usurpers. Okay, so that's what these Philistines were. See, the Philistines were trying to usurp the land from the Israelites. The Philistines ruled the land of the Israelites and made them pay them tithes or whatever, you see. That's what it message pastors. Okay, so anyway, David was out here amidst a bunch of message pastors on one side trying to fight the Israelites, and King Saul, who was his own tribesman, who's a third coming guy, a love divine guy, amongst his own tribe of people here, who was king, who was trying to kill him because he was saying his message one-upped his. It killed 10,000 to Saul's 1,000. Okay, so the king of the Israelites themselves, I'm talking, who are the Israelites here? The Israelites are the people that realize that the Messiah have come. Okay, so Messiah has come. That's what makes you an Israelite. If you don't understand that, you're basically an uncircumcised Philistine. Okay, probably trying to usurp money and authority over some poor message people out here. Okay, and then you got the king of Israel. Israel was the circumcised. They knew that the Messiah had come, and the king was he was an Israelite. Okay, so I'm telling you that there's a king of the Israelites out here that is trying his best to kill David, to kill anything out here that would go beyond his message. Because it said that whenever the women or the women folk or whoever it was, when David came back from battle, the general David came back from battle, that they sang, Saul has slain his thousands and David has slain his 10,000s. And at that point, Saul eyed David. So what happens is the king of the Israelites, the king of this world that understands the Messiah has come and all that stuff, that king, he eyes David. Anybody that's going to claim a one-up of what he's got, he eyes them immediately, okay, and then he tries to throw javelins at it, shut it down, whatever it is, okay, because it's a one-up. It literally is a one-up. So, I don't know why that this is, what always happens is it's a repeat of how that people get into this condition where nothing can be better. They say that there's no way for anything to be better, essentially, and then something comes along that argues that, which really is better, which is a one-up. And then they say, you're just a one-upper, look what and they trash talk the guy like that. See, Saul was trash talking David and saying, he's a one-upper, look at this, they're claiming they've killed 10,000 and my 1,000, that's what he was mad about. Okay, so that's what's going on here. But I will say this, I always have respect for the Lord's anointed. So, or David did, I should say. David always had respect for the Lord's anointed. So that's just the way that it works. But also the Lord's anointed was trying to kill David. So you get into, that's just what's going on. The one-upper, the whole thing repeats itself. That you got a one-up message here still right now. And they say, look at this, it's a one-up message. They've modernized the idea, over-modernized the idea that there could be another prophet, that there could be anything better. And that's how that they tell their people not to believe it. But what you got to have is you got to have some people out here, they're out here in the wilderness that don't go exactly by King Saul's ways and recognizes that you can one-up it. A band of Mystrians out here. That's the way it always is. What was the third coming? It was a band of Mystrians compared to the King Saul of their day. You know, you see what I'm saying? And there's got to be, it's always got to come back. There's got to be a band of miscreants. So anyway, just wanted to say that there are some people out here in the wilderness that don't go by this. So anyway, I think that's it for today. Shalom.